President Donald Trump has been on the bad side of the financial radar for some time now. But things took another interesting turn when Times reporters stated that they had been able to obtain decades of tax information that the president has hidden from public view. Before we go over some of the highlights of this saga, it is worth knowing that many of President Trump's properties operate at a loss, but Trump Tower in Manhattan is an exception, regularly earning him more than $20 million a year. Mr. Trump's refusal to release this information about him and his companies, spanning over 2 decades, has made his tax returns among the most sought-after document in recent memory. The secrecy of the details about his finances has attracted a lot of questions and investigations. In their findings, the New York Times said it found that the president defaulted in his federal income tax payment for 11 of the 18 years examined. Times put his tax bill to only $750 throughout 2016 and 2017. Also, he was found to have cut down his tax bills with contentious measures. And this includes a $72.9 million tax refund that is being audited by the Internal Revenue Service. Trump has paid barely any federal income tax for years, thanks to sometimes huge deductions. When confronted by the news, President Donald Trump calls the revelations fake news. However, the documents, which America has been waiting to know about for 4 years, also show that Trump is using his presidency to generate additional income, and he has to pay off about $400 million to creditors over the next 4 years. The conclusions to be drawn from the president's finances are far-reaching, but not expected to have major electoral consequences. Revelations about Trump have been downplayed or condoned by his supporters in the past. The American people don't care about this, Trump's campaign spokesman Hogan Gidley told Fox News on Sunday. By that, he meant the people who vote for Trump. Trump himself called the revelations fake news. One of his lawyers said he did pay taxes, but was referring to Social Security contributions for his staff. That does not alter the fact that the returns finally provide a more precise picture of Trump's business and tax maneuvers. 1. As a businessman, he is not very successful, but as a seller of his image as a successful businessman, he is. 2. Every private expense is a potential deduction for Trump. 3. He's deeply in debt. 4. He presents himself from a fiscal point of view as a loser. Trump's tax morality was already known. In recent years, a few old Trump tax returns have surfaced. When presidential candidate Hillary Clinton remarked in a debate in September 2016 that he hardly paid any income tax, Trump said, "That makes me smart." Clinton then said, "Maybe you haven't paid federal income tax for many years." Trump, "Believe me, that money would only have been wasted." At his campaign rallies this year, Trump is playing Creedence Clearwater Revival's song Fortunate Son, a song about a rich man who dodges conscription and taxes. So now, the New York Times has figured out the facts. Over 18 years since 2000, Trump has paid an average of $1.4 million in income tax. An average member of the 0.001% richest Americans pay about $25 million annually, according to the Times. In 11 of those 18 years, Trump paid nothing at all. In 2016 and 2017, the year he was elected president, and the year after, he contributed $750. This is, however, less than the average illegal income tax pays. Trump made $427.4 million from the TV show The Apprentice and selling his name during that time, according to the newspaper's calculations. He mainly invested that money in golf courses, but they all appear to be making a loss. Trump uses the losses to dampen his income. He also appears to be creative with deductions. For example, he claims $70,000 for his hairstylist's expenses and $100,000 for his daughter Ivanka's hair. He also states his private plane and private houses as business expenses. Many deals come with a standard 20% consultant fee, which, the newspaper discovered, all went to Ivanka. He is still arguing with the IRS tax authorities about a $72.9 million deduction that he claimed for a bankrupt casino in Atlantic City. If they judged that this item was unjustified, Trump kept a share in the casino, which would not make the loss deductible. He can expect a claim of $100 million. Trump's presidency brings him new money. The lobbyists, party members, businessmen, foreign envoys, and other hustlers who bid for the president's favor have earned him millions in recent years by staying overnight in his hotel or on one of his golf courses. New members of his Florida club, Mar-a-Lago, bring in an extra $5 million annually. Yet Trump is deeply in debt. In 2012, he took out a mortgage on Trump Tower, his headquarters in New York, which has not been paid off even a cent. He must repay that $100 million in 2022. In total, according to Time's calculations, he would have to pay off $421 million in debt over the next 4 years, 4 which he guarantees. That makes him financially unstable. The question is where he will get that money from. In recent years, there has been much speculation that Trump is somehow dependent on Russian funders. Trump's main lender is Deutsche Bank. Why that bank continued to lend money to Trump while he was in such trouble financially is still a mystery. Trump's account manager at Deutsche Bank for many years was Justin Kennedy, son of High Judge Anthony Kennedy, who stepped aside early in 2018 at Trump's urging to make way for fresh conservative blood. U.S. presidents are under no obligation to disclose details of their finances, but since Richard Nixon, all presidents have. Trump has broken with that tradition by not disclosing his filings, despite promising to do so before the 2016 election, for everyone. Moreover, this control does not prevent the release. If you've liked it so far, could you like the video, please? Since then, Trump has waged a fierce legal battle to avoid the release of the tax returns. They are, among others, wanted by the public prosecutor of New York for an investigation into his business dealings, such as paying off a porn actress and other mistresses. In August, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Trump's tax returns can, in principle, be retrieved, but Trump's lawyers are still litigating on other grounds. Although the whole saga had been going on for a while, it got heated up by the New York Times revelation. These findings have got many analysts thinking about its significance towards Trump's ambition and asking the question of how it will affect the populace's voting preference when the election finally comes. Donald Trump has for years consistently refused to disclose his tax returns. Recent disclosures show that it has paid little or no amounts and that it has declared huge losses. But his followers have been extremely impervious to any criticism against him, even that which is founded on data, actions, and statements directly linked to him. That is why it is doubtful that the recent revelations about Trump's tax returns will change the mind of the most enthusiastic voters who are determined to support the re-election of the president in the elections on November 3rd. The problem for Trump is that beyond that loyalty or obfuscation, those voters would not be enough to win the election. The New York Times revealed that Trump only paid $750 on his 2016 and 2017 tax returns, and that the figure was 0 in 10 of the previous 15 years, intensely taking advantage of loopholes in tax laws that allow him to deduct huge quantities. At the same time, during those years, he reported huge losses, on the order of hundreds of millions of dollars, which demolishes his image as a successful businessman and tycoon, and means that he burns more money than he is capable of obtaining. Besides, Trump could have to pay the Treasury about $100 million if the result of a long audit on a tax refund, which the tax authorities considered improper, of almost $73 million is unfavorable. And he has huge debts of more than $300 million, personally guaranteed by him, that will expire in the next 4 years, and that, as the creditor is unknown, raise ominous questions about the influence that this could have on the national security of the country. Trump, therefore, would not have wanted for years to reveal his tax returns, because doing so would reveal the fiction of the image that has been built over years and that supported him to a large extent, and along with other factors, to win the presidency in 2016. The burdens that weigh on him, and that could be harmful to the nation. And the magnitude of his wealth, which many question and which the aforementioned fiscal data calls into question, is relevant in this context, not only because of the blow to the image of a successful tycoon that Trump has promoted, and which has previously been questioned, but because it would reveal that the current president of the United States could owe so much money to entities not fully identified that this could severely condition their actions and decisions. Something that is ominous because of its possible implications for national security. The polarization of the country in political ideological terms is acute, and for this reason, for a large number of voters, the positions and peculiarities of the rival candidates are or more objectionable or reason for rejection than the shortcomings of the candidate himself. On the other hand, for many, the positions and emphasis of the candidate himself are so substantive that they overshadow his scandals, miseries, and distortions. This has been greatly evident in the case of Trump, who continually lives amid scandals for his actions, statements, or omissions. Still, Trump himself has eroded, and with him has also worn away a significant portion of the electorate that gave him victory in 2016. His disastrous handling of the COVID-19 pandemic has caused him to significantly lose support among independent voters, and also among groups that, having supported Democratic candidates during many presidential elections, granted Trump their vote in 2016 and gave him victory in key states such as Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Many of those voters, working-class and middle-class Anglo-Saxons in the decisive states that before 2016 voted for the Democrats, could change their perception of Trump in light of the aforementioned tax disclosures, or at least clear their doubts. What will those workers who pay more taxes than Trump and has not seen his expectations of recovering jobs and improving his economy think? Hit hard by the pandemic, with its burden of death, disease, and unemployment, the notion that the president pays less or nothing in taxes than they do, and that his decisions could be conditioned by the pressure of his debts and not governed by interest overall, can have a weighty impact on their voting decision. The magnitude of this is not clear, but it is certainly an additional weight for Trump's candidacy, which is already behind in electoral preferences at the national level and in the decisive states. Those who reject Trump will find in the new revelations about Trump's taxes one more reason to vote for Biden, and those who defend him will likely choose to vote for him anyway, assuming that it is a new attack by the false media and the deep state against the president. But it will be the independents and the Democrats who voted for Trump in 2016 who will tip the balance, especially in the handful of states where the election will be crucially contested. Anyway, that's it for today. Tell us in the comments what you think about the Trump tax situation, and like the video.